The Galactic Academy's orientation day always brought the same tired spectacle. Hundreds of alien species gathered in the Grand Plaza, their scales gleaming, tentacles twitching, and multiple eyes scanning the competition with barely concealed smugness. The Varathi delegation preened their feathers while discussing their latest victory against the Terran colonies. The crystalline Zelthans chimed in harmonious agreement about humanity's inevitable defeat, and there, standing in the center of it all like a sore thumb, was Lieutenant Maya Torres. "Oh, look!" hissed Kex 9, his serpentine form coiling with amusement. "They actually sent one of those dirt dwellers to our academy. How quaint!" The other cadets erupted in clicks, chirps, and what passed for laughter among their species. Maya stood perfectly still, her dark eyes taking in every sneer, every dismissive gesture. She'd heard it all before during the 3-month journey to reach this place. Hairless ape, gravity-bound vermin, the weakest link in the galaxy's food chain. "I heard they can't even breathe methane," wheezed Blort 7, his gas-filled sacs inflating with mirth. "Imagine being so fragile that you need that oxygen stuff just to survive." "Pathetic, really," agreed Zyra Prime, her 6 arms gesturing dramatically. "My species conquered 17 star systems before we even developed spaceflight. These humans, they took centuries just to leave their own planet." Maya adjusted her standard-issue uniform and checked her chronometer. 5 minutes until the entrance exam. She'd traveled 800 light-years for this moment, enduring months of ridicule from her transport shipmates, just for the chance to prove humanity belonged among the galaxy's elite military forces. The Academy's massive gates loomed ahead, constructed from the bones of some extinct leviathan and reinforced with quantum steel. Each prospective cadet would pass through the security scanner, which would analyze their combat potential, strategic thinking, and overall threat assessment. The results determined not just acceptance, but class placement and training intensity. Form lines, according to species classification, announced Drill Sergeant Vorth Prime through his vocal synthesizer. His rocky, mountainous form made him look like a walking asteroid with attitude. Higher-tier species to the left, middle-tier center, and his gaze fell on Maya with undisguised contempt. Whatever's left can shuffle to the right. Maya found herself in a line of 1. The scanning process began with the apex predators. The Krillian Death Knights strode through first, their razor-sharp exoskeletons gleaming as the scanner bathed them in green light. Combat, rating, extreme, strategic analysis, superior, threat level, maximum. The automated voice boomed across the plaza. Next came the Vorthan Sky Hunters, their wings folded regally as they passed through. More green lights, more maximum ratings. The pattern continued for nearly an hour as species after species demonstrated their superiority. "This is taking forever," Maya muttered, earning sharp looks from nearby cadets. "Oh, you're in a hurry to fail?" Kex 9's forked tongue flicked out mockingly. "Don't worry, little human. I'm sure they have a lovely cafeteria where you can serve real warriors their meals." The middle-tier species fared reasonably well, earning yellow and orange readings with respectable combat ratings. Even they looked down at Maya with mixture of pity and amusement. At least they weren't dead last in the galactic hierarchy. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of waiting and enduring increasingly creative insults about human frailty, Maya approached the scanner. "State your name and planet of origin," commanded the scanning system. "Lieutenant Maya Torres, Earth, Sol System." A collective snicker rippled through the crowd. Earth, that backwater mudball on the galaxy's outer rim, home to the species that had somehow stumbled into space travel despite being made of meat and requiring constant hydration to survive. "Initiating full-spectrum analysis," the scanner announced. Maya stepped forward, feeling hundreds of alien eyes boring into her back. The scanning beam descended, starting at her head and moving slowly downward. The usual green light appeared, then flickered. Strange. The light changed to yellow, then orange, then something that made the gathered crowd murmur in confusion. Red. Not just red, but a pulsing, angry crimson that painted the entire gateway in warning hues. The scanner's mechanical voice crackled to life, but the words came out slower, as if the system was double-checking its own readings. Species identification confirmed. Homo sapiens. Earth origin. Combat rating. A long pause. Error. Recalibrating. The red light intensified, casting hellish shadows across the plaza. Maya stood perfectly still, though she could feel her heart racing. Whatever was happening, it wasn't normal. Combat rating. Undefined. Threat assessment. Warning. Subject exhibits unusual psychological markers. The crowd fell silent. Maximum plus ratings were theoretical, reserved for ancient war gods and extinct species that had once ruled the galaxy through sheer terror. There must be some mistake, Drill Sergeant Vorth Prime rumbled, his rocky features creasing into a frown. Run the scan again. Scanning complete. Psychological profile. Extreme adaptability. Tactical creativity. Off the scale. Survival instinct. Unprecedented. Warning. The scanner's voice rose to maximum volume. Earthborn detected. Species classification. Do not engage without extreme caution. Maya stepped out of the scanner, her expression unchanged. The plaza remained dead silent, except for the sound of her boots on the stone floor. She could practically hear the gears turning in hundreds of alien minds, trying to process what they'd beat. Just witnessed. That's impossible, whispered Zyra Prime, her 6 arms trembling slightly. Humans are weak. Everyone knows that. They can barely lift their own body weight. Maybe the machine's broken, suggested Blort 7, though his gas sacks had deflated considerably. Drill Sergeant Vorth Prime approached the scanner, his massive form casting a shadow over Maya. System diagnostic complete. All functions operating within normal parameters. He turned to study the small human who had somehow broken their evaluation system. Cadet Torres. Explain these readings. Maya looked up at him with those unsettling human eyes. No second eyelid, no protective membrane. Just bare organic sensors that seemed to see right through him. I don't know, Sergeant. Maybe your machine needs better programming. The response drew a collective gasp from the assembled cadets. Nobody talked back to Vorth Prime. His species had conquered half the spiral arm before joining the academy as instructors. He could crush Maya's skull between 2 fingers without effort. Instead, he laughed. A sound like grinding tectonic plates that sent vibrations through the ground. Better programming. Yes, I think our human cadet here is going to provide us with some very interesting data. He gestured toward the academy entrance. Welcome to advanced combat training, Torres. I hope you survived the first week. As Maya walked through the gates, she could hear the whispered conversations starting behind her. Did you see how she looked at Vorth Prime? No fear at all. My species evolved from pack hunters, and even I wouldn't stare down a Rockthani war chief like that. Maximum plus rating. What does that even mean? I heard rumors about humans from the Outer Rim conflicts, but I thought they were just war stories. Maya allowed herself a small smile as she entered the academy proper. The corridors were vast and imposing, designed to accommodate everything from tiny pixie-class beings to massive titangent breeds. Holographic displays showed the history of galactic warfare, highlighting the greatest military minds and most decisive battles in known history. Her new dormitory assignment led her through sections marked for various species categories. She passed the apex predator wing, where the walls were reinforced to contain beings that could punch through starship hulls. The psychic combat section hummed with mental static from species that fought with their minds rather than claws. Finally, she reached her destination. Section Omega. The placard read, "Special Circumstances Housing. Extreme caution advised." "Well," Maya said to herself, looking at the imposing blast doors, "this should be interesting." Her quarters turned out to be more like a secure containment unit than a dorm room. The walls were lined with some kind of energy-dampening material, and the door required both biometric scanning and a numerical code to open. A note waited on her desk. "Cadet Torres, report to Combat Assessment Lab 7 at 0800 tomorrow. Come prepared for live fire exercises. Your training will differ significantly from standard academy protocol. Do not discuss your scanner results with other cadets." Signed, Commandant Zeris Alpha. Maya set the note aside and began unpacking her few belongings. One advantage of being human, HAN, she traveled light. No specialized atmospheric equipment, no exotic dietary supplements, no religious artifacts that needed daily maintenance. Just clothes, a few personal items, and the small photo of her family back on Earth. A soft chime indicated an incoming message on her comm unit. "Cadet Torres, this is Medical Officer TIS-9. Please report to Medbay 3 for your species-specific health evaluation. Bring any medical records from your homeworld." The medical bay turned out to be another adventure entirely. Dr. TIS-9 belonged to a species that looked like an octopus had mated with a computer, with dozens of tentacles ending in various medical instruments. Her main body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that Maya assumed indicated mood or concentration. "Fascinating," the doctor murmured as her tentacles manipulated scanning equipment around Maya's body. "Your musculature is far more dense than our records indicated, and these neural pathways, highly unusual stress response patterns. Is there a problem, doctor?" "Problem? Oh no, my dear. Quite the opposite." The bioluminescent patterns shifted to what might have been excitement. "Your species' ability to function under extreme duress is remarkable. Most beings experience cognitive shutdown when their stress hormones spike. Humans apparently become more focused and creative. Extraordinary adaptation." The examination continued for over an hour, with the doctor taking readings that seemed to fascinate and concern her in equal measure. "One more thing, Cadet Torres. Have you experienced any unusual dreams since arriving at the academy?" Maya paused, considering the question. "Strange dreams? Yes. Combat scenarios? Mostly. Things that haven't happened yet." "Ah!" The doctor made notes on her datapad. "Perfectly normal for your species under stress. Humans have a remarkable ability to mentally rehearse potential futures. We call it tactical precognition, though it's not true psychic ability. Just your brain running survival simulations." As Maya left the medical bay, she encountered a group of cadets from her orientation session. They fell silent as she approached, their various alien features betraying uncertainty and something that might have been fear. "Torres!" Kex-9 called out, his serpentine form coiled with tension rather than amusement now. "That scanner malfunction earlier? And what really happened?" Maya stopped walking and turned to face them. 6 different species, all of them physically superior to humans in various ways, stronger, faster, better adapted to their environments. Yet, they were looking at her like she was some kind of dangerous predator. "No malfunction," she said simply. "The scanner worked exactly as designed." "But that's impossible," insisted Zyra Prime. "Your species barely qualifies for spaceflight. You can't even survive on most habitable planets without environmental suits." "You're right," Maya agreed pleasantly. "We're weak, slow, and fragile. We need tools to survive in most environments. But you know what we're really good at?" She smiled, and for some reason, that made the alien cadets take an unconscious step backward. "We're good at making tools. Really, really good at it." With that, she continued down the corridor, leaving the group to whisper among themselves about scanner malfunctions and impossible readings. Her first night at the academy was interrupted 3 times by what the computer classified as proximity alerts. Each time, Maya woke to find her door had detected someone or something approaching her quarters, only to retreat without making contact. Security footage showed various cadets, including some from species known for their stealth abilities, attempting to scout her room before losing their nerve. Interesting. Maya settled back into sleep, her dreams filled with tactical scenarios and combat simulations. Her brain was already preparing for challenges she hadn't even encountered yet. Tomorrow would bring her first official test, and she had a feeling the Academy was about to learn some very uncomfortable truths about the species from the little blue planet on the galaxy's edge. Dawn at the Academy came with the sound of battle horns echoing through the corridors. Maya dressed quickly, noting that her new uniform had been modified with additional armor plating and what looked like impact sensors. Someone expected her to take a beating today. Combat Assessment Lab 7 turned out to be a massive arena, filled with holographic environments that could simulate everything from asteroid fields to underwater cities. Waiting for her were 3 instructors she hadn't met before, along with a viewing gallery packed with curious cadets and faculty members. Cadet Torres, called Instructor Vex Prime, a being that looked like a cross between a praying mantis and a battle tank. Today we determine if yesterday's scanner readings were accurate or if you're just another overhyped primitive. Maya stepped into the arena's center, immediately noticing the subtle hum of recording equipment. Whatever happened here would be analyzed, studied, and probably broadcast across the Academy network. No pressure at all. Your first test is simple, announced Combat Instructor Zolt 7, his multiple eye stalks focusing on her from different angles. Survive for 10 minutes against our standard training construct. Most cadets last 30 seconds on their first attempt. The arena shimmered and transformed into an urban battlefield. Ruined buildings stretched in all directions, filled with shadows and potential ambush points. Somewhere in this maze lurked a combat construct designed to test reflexes, tactical thinking, and raw survival instinct. Begin! Vex Prime's voice boomed through the speakers. Maya immediately dropped into a crouch and rolled behind the nearest piece of debris. The watching aliens murmured in surprise. Most cadets charged forward, relying on their natural weapons and superior strength. Humans, apparently, had different ideas about combat. A plasma bolt sizzled past her head, scorching the concrete where she'd been standing moments before. The combat construct had found her position remarkably quickly. Maya analyzed the shot's trajectory, calculating the shooter's likely location based on angle and timing. 3 possible positions, each with specific advantages and weaknesses. She moved, not toward cover, but directly toward the most dangerous position. The construct's sensors tracked her movement, adjusting its aim. But Maya wasn't running in a straight line. Her path wove between obstacles in a pattern that seemed random, but actually forced the construct to constantly recalculate firing solutions. Fascinating, murmured Dr. Thys9 from the viewing gallery. She's using her own unpredictability as a weapon. The construct emerged from behind a collapsed wall, its angular form bristling with weapons. Most cadets would have panicked at the sight of something twice their size, with enough firepower to level a city block. Maya smiled and picked up a piece of rubble. Did she just grin at the death machine? Whispered Blort 7, his gas sacs deflating with anxiety. Maya threw the rubble, not at the construct, but at a precariously balanced section of debris above its position. The makeshift projectile struck with perfect timing, triggering a small avalanche that forced the construct to shift position to avoid being buried. In that moment of movement, Maya saw her opportunity. She sprinted forward, staying low and using the dust cloud as cover. The construct's sensors were sophisticated, but not perfect. DOM, they could be confused by environmental factors. Maya reached the machine's blind spot and did something that made the entire viewing gallery gasp in horror. She climbed onto its back. Is she insane? Kex-9's coils writhed with agitation. That thing can generate electrical discharges that would fry most species instantly. Maya had already considered that possibility. Human nervous systems were remarkably resistant to electrical interference compared to most alien biology. What would kill a Krillian Death Knight might just sting a human. She pressed against the construct's main sensor array and began systematically removing access panels. The machine bucked and spun, trying to dislodge her, but Maya held on with what the Academy would later classify as impossible grip strength for her body mass. She wasn't trying to destroy the construct. That would be nearly impossible without heavy weapons. Instead, she was doing something far more human. She was hacking it. Combat construct systems compromised, announced the arena's computer. Training exercise terminated due to unauthorized system access. Maya dropped to the ground as the construct powered down, its weapons systems going offline one by one. She'd turned the Academy's premier training tool into an expensive piece of sculpture in under 3 minutes. The viewing gallery had gone completely silent. How? Vex Prime's mandibles clicked with what might have been respect or terror. That construct's security systems were designed by the galaxy's best military engineers. Maya wiped dust from her hands and looked up at the instructors. You built it to fight strong, fast, heavily armed opponents. You never considered what would happen if someone small and clever got close enough to reprogram it. Commandant Xeris Alpha materialized in the arena through holographic projection. Her crystalline form pulsed with patterns that indicated deep thought mixed with growing concern. Cadet Torres. Her voice resonated through harmonic frequencies that made the air shimmer. In 50 years of Academy operation, no cadet has ever defeated a combat construct by converting it into an ally. I didn't convert it into an ally, Maya corrected politely. I just convinced it that its target parameters were wrong. The distinction seemed to worry the aliens even more. Your next test, announced Instructor Zolt 7, his eye stalks weaving nervously, will be tactical analysis. You'll be presented with historical battle scenarios and asked to provide strategic solutions. The arena transformed again, this time displaying a 3-dimensional holographic battle map. Maya recognized it immediately. The Battle of Vega Prime, where a massive Krillian fleet had decimated 3 coalition worlds before being stopped at enormous cost. The Krillian Death Fleet approaches from the outer system, explained Vex Prime. Coalition forces are outnumbered 4-1. Conventional wisdom suggests immediate retreat to preserve forces. What is your tactical assessment? Maya studied the display, noting fleet positions, supply lines, and gravitational factors. The watching cadets expected her to suggest some desperate last stand or miraculous flanking maneuver. Instead, she pointed to something most military minds overlooked. The Krillian fleet is traveling in perfect formation, she observed. Beautiful, efficient, and completely predictable. I'd hit their supply ships first, but not to destroy them. Explain, commanded Xeris Alpha, her form brightening with interest. Every species thinks about war differently, Maya continued, manipulating the holographic display to highlight specific vessels. Krillians value honor and direct confrontation. They'd never consider retreating just because their supplies were compromised. But if you could contaminate their food stores with something that caused mild digestive distress— The alien instructors exchanged glances that somehow conveyed horror despite their vastly different facial structures. You would poison their food supply? Zolt 7's voice carried overtones of disgust. Not poison, just enough biological agents to make them uncomfortable. Humans learned long ago that an enemy who's constantly running to the bathroom isn't an effective fighting force. Meanwhile, you use their predictable formation against them by mining the exact path they'll take through the asteroid field. Maya highlighted the tactical advantages of her approach, showing how biological warfare combined with psychological manipulation could defeat a numerically superior force without massive casualties. The solution was elegant, effective, and completely horrifying to beings who still believed in honorable combat. That's cheating," whispered Zyra Prime from the gallery. "No," Maya replied calmly. "That's winning." The final test involved single combat against volunteer cadets from various species. Maya faced opponents who were stronger, faster, and better armed than any human. Each time, she found ways to win that left her opponents and the watching crowd more confused than impressed. Against the Krillian Death Knight, she used the arena's artificial gravity generators to create localized distortions that disrupted his balance. Against the Vorthan Sky Hunter, she employed sonic frequencies that interfered with his echolocation. Each victory came through understanding her opponent's strengths and turning them into weaknesses. "This is impossible," muttered Kex-9, after watching Maya defeat her 7th consecutive opponent. "She's smaller and weaker than all of them, but she keeps winning." "She fights like prey that's tired of being hunted," observed Doctor. This 9, her tentacles weaving complex patterns of analysis. Every tactic is designed around the assumption that her opponent is physically superior. The testing concluded with Maya standing alone in the arena, undefeated and apparently unbothered by the morning's events. The viewing gallery buzzed with confused chatter in dozens of alien languages. Commandant Xeris Alpha's projection grew brighter, demanding attention. "Cadet Torres, your performance today has raised significant questions about human military potential. Our records indicate your species has been involved in only minor border conflicts with primitive civilizations." Maya looked directly at the projection, those unsettling human eyes showing no deference to one of the galaxy's most respected military leaders. "Respectfully, Commandant, your records are incomplete." "Elaborate." "Humans don't fight other species very often," Maya explained, her voice carrying to every corner of the arena. "We're too busy fighting each other. We've been perfecting warfare for thousands of years, competing against opponents who think exactly like us. Every strategy, every tactic, every dirty trick. We've seen it all before, usually from our own kind." The implication hung in the air like a toxic cloud. While other species had conquered primitive worlds or fought occasional territorial disputes, humans had spent millennia locked in constant warfare with beings of equal intelligence and creativity. They'd turned conflict into an art form. "Furthermore," Maya continued, "most species seem to believe that superior physical capabilities guarantee victory. Humans learned early that the smartest fighter usually beats the strongest one." Xeris Alpha's form pulsed with what might have been concern. "And now your species has joined the galactic community." "Yes," Maya agreed pleasantly. "We have." The Academy's evening meal became an exercise in alien psychology. Maya sat alone at a table, while other cadets whispered and pointed from across the cafeteria. Nobody wanted to sit near the small human who had somehow redefined their understanding of combat effectiveness. "She doesn't look dangerous," someone murmured in Galactic Standard. "Neither does a quantum virus," another voice replied, "until it starts rewriting your DNA." Maya ate her meal, carefully prepared human-compatible nutrition blocks that tasted like cardboard, while listening to increasingly wild theories about Earth's military capabilities. According to cafeteria gossip, her homeworld was either a secret military training facility, a prison planet for dangerous criminals, or a biological weapons laboratory that had somehow gained sentience. None of them guessed the truth. Earth was just a small planet where survival required creativity, and creativity had made humans very, very good at war. Later that evening, Maya received another message from Commandant Xeris Alpha. "Report to Strategic Planning Center 1 tomorrow at 0600. Bring all personal effects. Your training assignment has been changed." The Strategic Planning Center occupied the Academy's highest tower, with panoramic windows showing the 3 moons of Nexus Prime. Maya arrived to find the facility's most senior faculty waiting for her. Along with several beings she didn't recognize, but whose presence made the air itself feel heavier. Xeris Alpha began, her crystalline form reflecting the morning light in complex patterns. Based on yesterday's evaluation, we're making an unprecedented decision. You're being transferred to Advanced Strategic Development, ISM, a program that typically requires years of standard training to access. Maya nodded politely, though she suspected this wasn't entirely good news. You'll be working directly with our senior tacticians on theoretical scenarios involving large-scale conflicts, continued the Commandant. Your human perspective on warfare may provide insights we've overlooked. One of the unrecognized beings stepped forward, something that looked like a walking storm cloud with too many eyes. I am War Council Prime Vorthak. Your species' approach to combat has been noted by higher authorities. We need to understand human military doctrine before your people become more widespread in galactic affairs. The implication was clear. Maya wasn't just a cadet anymore. She was an intelligence asset, possibly a threat assessment, and definitely something that made the galaxy's military leaders nervous. I understand, Maya replied, meeting Vorthak's many-eyed gaze without flinching. When do we start? Now, the storm being rumbled. Your first assignment is to analyze the hegemony war records and identify tactical errors that led to the coalition's victory. Previous analysts have concluded that superior numbers and technology were the deciding factors. Maya spent the next several hours reviewing battle records, supply manifests, and strategic reports from the galaxy's most devastating recent conflict. The coalition's victory over the hegemony had cost billions of lives and reshaped the political landscape of three spiral arms. Her analysis, when completed, painted a very different picture of the war's outcome. The coalition didn't win because of superior numbers or technology, Maya announced to the assembled War Council. They won because they were fighting a different war entirely. She activated the holographic display, showing troop movements and battle sequences that had been studied by military scholars for decades. The hegemony fought for territory, resources, and strategic advantage, traditional military objectives. The coalition fought to make the hegemony's population lose faith in their government's ability to protect them. The War Council members shifted uneasily, as Maya highlighted specific battles and their psychological impact. Every major engagement was designed not just to defeat hegemony forces, but to create maximum disruption to civilian life. Supply raids targeted food distribution centers. Communications satellites were disabled during cultural festivals. The coalition was waging psychological warfare on an entire civilization. War Council Prime, Vorthak's form, darkened with what might have been alarm. You're suggesting the coalition deliberately targeted non-combatants? I'm suggesting they understood that wars aren't won by destroying armies, Maya corrected. They're won by breaking the enemy's will to fight. The hegemony surrendered when their people decided the cost of continuing wasn't worth the potential benefits of victory. The analysis session continued for hours, with Maya providing increasingly uncomfortable insights into galactic military history. Every major conflict, when viewed through human strategic thinking, revealed patterns of psychological manipulation and civilian-targeted operations that most alien species had failed to recognize. Your species thinks about warfare very differently than we do, observed Commandant Xeris Alpha during a break in the session. Most species seem to believe that combat is about proving superiority, Maya replied. Humans learned that combat is about achieving objectives with minimum cost to ourselves. Sometimes that means honorable battle. Sometimes it means poisoning the enemy's water supply or convincing their allies to switch sides. And if your species were to face a galactic-level threat? Maya considered the question carefully. Earth's military doctrine had been developed through millennia of conflict with other humans, our beings, of equal intelligence and creativity. Applying those same principles against alien species with different psychological frameworks and technological capabilities. "We'd win," she said simply. "It might take time, and it wouldn't be pretty, but we'd win." The War Council's emergency session that evening lasted until the early hours of the morning. Maya wasn't invited to attend, but she could guess the topic of discussion. The galaxy had spent thousands of years believing that humans were a minor species from an insignificant world. Today's analysis had revealed something far more disturbing. Humans were potentially the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever encountered, and they'd just been given access to advanced technology and detailed intelligence about every major alien species. Maya's final day at the Academy began with a personal meeting with Commandant Xeris Alpha. The crystalline being's form seemed dimmer than usual, as if recent revelations had drained some vital energy. "Cadet Torres," she began, "the War Council has reached a decision regarding your continued education here." "I'm being expelled," Maya guessed. "Quite the opposite. You're being graduated immediately, with full honors and a direct commission to Lieutenant Commander. Your first assignment will be developing defensive strategies for the Outer Rim colonies, LSOs, specifically preparations for potential human expansion into those territories." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You're asking me to help you defend against my own people?" "We're asking you to help us avoid a war that could devastate both our civilizations," Xeris Alpha replied. "Your species' military capabilities have been significantly underestimated. We need time to develop appropriate diplomatic frameworks before widespread human expansion begins." The graduation ceremony was a quiet affair. Maya stood alone on the Academy's central platform, receiving commendations and rank insignia, while hundreds of alien cadets watched from a respectful distance. Nobody applauded, nobody cheered. The atmosphere felt more like a funeral than a celebration. As Maya prepared to depart for her new assignment, she encountered a group of the cadets who had mocked her on that first day. Kex 9 approached cautiously, his serpentine form coiled with nervous energy. "Torres," he said, using her name rather than a species slur for the first time. "That day at the gate, when the scanner lit up red, did you know what it meant?" Maya looked at the assembled aliens, beings from species that had conquered star systems, fought cosmic wars, and dominated entire sectors of the galaxy, all of them looking at her with a mixture of fear and respect that hadn't existed a week earlier. "The scanner didn't malfunction," she replied. "It just did exactly what it was designed to do. It identified the most dangerous thing in the area." With that, she walked toward the transport ship that would carry her to her new post, leaving behind an academy full of beings who finally understood why Earth had been marked "Do not engage" in their military databases. The galaxy had always assumed that warning referred to human unpredictability or some unknown defensive capability. Now they realized the truth was far simpler and infinitely more terrifying. Earth wasn't marked as dangerous because humans were strong or fast or technologically advanced. Earth was marked as dangerous because humans were really, really good at war. And now, they were part of the galactic community.